Welcome to Rockland Psychiatric Center's Community Mental Health Scope. With this program, we hope to make you, our visitors, more aware of the vision and mission of Rockland Psychiatric Center, which is hope, respect, and recovery with those with severe and complex mental illnesses, and also to make you more aware of the positive impact of our programs in the community. I'm your host, Don Pasquale. Today we have with us two people from Westchester Disabled on the Move here in Westchester County, Mel Tansman, Mel, who is the executive director of the organization, and Gail Cartenuto-Cohn. Did I pronounce that right, Gail?
Cartenuto, yes.
Cartenuto,
Close
close enough, who's president of the board of directors. I'll start with you, Mel, and perhaps you can give us an overview of your organization.
Sure. Westchester Disabled on the Move, Don, is a independent living center which is based in Yonkers. It's a community-based organization, and we're part of a national network of independent living centers. There are about 38 independent living centers here in New York State, and we see ourselves as kind of a full-service agency that helps all kinds of issues for people with any disabilities, whether they are psychiatric, physical, sensory, or learning. And we are cross-generational. We work with people of all ages and try to basically keep people in the community. Our mission is to empower people, to allow them to stay in the community in the least restricted, most integrated setting with respect, similar to what your mission is over at Rockland Psych. And we're funded through the State Education Department, as well as many, many other sources. And people come in and ask for help with benefits, with housing, and with any issue that may be an impediment or a barrier to them staying as independent and productive in the community as they want to be.
So you're an independent agency. You're not affiliated with the state or the county. But do they somewhat subsidize you? Do you get money from them?
We do get some money. Our fund basic grant is from the State Education Department, which under their Voc Rehab program funds, as I said, I think earlier, 38 independent living centers across the state.
Right.
So we have 2 here in Westchester. We all have our own niche and our own specialties.
Right.
And we try to be responsive in terms of our programs to what the needs of people are. One of the things, and I'll talk about the services later, one of the things we've had in the 27 years since we've been around, we've always had an active housing program because housing is such a dynamic need for people with disabilities, such a critical need. And it's not that we provide housing per se, but we help people apply, we help them deal with housing landlord-tenant issues, and we advocate on a broader way to make sure that there is enough housing for people with disabilities.
Is housing your overriding problem here in Westchester for the disabled?
I think that is one of the major problems and one of the major barriers for people with disabilities to being independent and in the community. There's a national report that looks at the cost of housing for people with disabilities as a percentage of the median income. And for a person who is on SSI, which is $700-800 a month, in order to get a modest one-bedroom apartment, they would have to spend 190% of their income. Now, unless they are a magician or they have a good printing press to print some money, that's impossible.
And
So we try to help people get Section 8 subsidies or other subsidies. There are some...
which would supplement the initial amounts that they
Right.
had, right?
Well, Section 8 essentially will supplement a rent up to a certain amount, and usually the tenant only has to pay approximately 30% of their income for rent. Unfortunately, most of the Section 8 lists are closed or they have long waiting lists. We've done a lot here in Westchester to try to open up opportunities. Housing is such a critical issue for many people with disabilities in that when people become disabled and they lose their income or and also at the same time maybe have to go into rehab for a short time, they get stuck there. They lose their housing. So in order for people to get back into the community, they often can't do it unless they can find something that's both affordable to them and accessible to them. And you'll find many people, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, and we're not talking about 80-year-old people, we're talking about people in their 50s, staying in nursing homes, mainly because they can't find affordable and accessible housing. Unfortunately, if you have a physical disability, a nursing home becomes a very, very expensive homeless shelter in many ways. One of the things we did, specifically addressing people who need to get out of institutional settings, is we discussed the issue with, down in Yonkers, the Municipal Housing Authority, and based on our discussions, they decided to modify their administrative plan with the federal government in that they set aside 5% of their Section 8 housing vouchers for people with disabilities who are currently in nursing homes and could live in the community if they had affordable and accessible housing. So that became a valuable tool to help people get out of nursing homes and get them in housing. That, when you asked if that's the most important issue for people with disabilities, I think that's one of the most important issues, and it's really intricately linked with people being institutionalized.
Right.
There are still, in the state of New York, I think over 5,000, people who wish to be in community settings and are still in nursing homes. So the basis of what independent living was always to help people stay in the community. So, housing, benefits, being able to get services from Medicaid, all of those are critical to people with disabilities, whether they be sensory, whether they be mental health, or whether they be physical, or whether they be all three. We have a lot of consumers who have dual or even triple diagnoses. They have a physical disability. That physical disability may also cause blindness, and they may have a mental health, psychiatric disability as well. And they all interplay, those disabilities, and often lead to, either chronic homelessness or being institutionalized, and it becomes a struggle to help them get out.
Gail, I haven't forgotten you. You're very patient sitting over there. Mel,
I'm just a big mouth.
Mel, let me ask you one more question. When you talk about the people with disabilities, more than one, are you talking about getting them into independent housing, into an apartment by themselves, or are you talking about a group setting with other consumers share or what?
Don, I think it really depends on the individual and their needs. I think the majority of people with disabilities can and do wish to live in independent settings. They don't want to be hovered over by, a group home manager. Group home is not an independent apartment, nor do I consider it to be housing. I see it as a mini institution. I think that most people need services in the community, be it a counselor coming in for people with mental health disabilities, or an aide coming in for people who can't dress and bathe and do all those tasks. I think it's not necessary for them to live in some kind of a congregate group setting.
Location,
we had in the history called it a GIMP ghetto.
Gotcha.
You know, people want to live in the mainstream of
Right, I
their
understand
societies.
that. Well, who pays for the people, the aides that come in and attend to them or help them on a daily or regular basis? How is that funded?
That's usually funded through Medicaid.
Okay.
So most people with physical disabilities, if they're not employed, really end up living on a very low income. You know, the rate for Medicaid, people are allowed to keep a little under $800. We have techniques and ways to help people keep a little bit more of their income by doing things like trusts, but you know, people have to be eligible for Medicaid. Medicare doesn't provide for long-term community-based care, and even for nursing home care, they have a limited amount of time after a hospitalization.
Right.
So once you get to need for long-term care, you have to be eligible one way or another for Medicaid, unless you're independently wealthy and can afford to pay for it on your own.
Gotcha. Okay, Mel said he won't say anything for the rest of the program, Gail. Tell me what you do and how do you interact with Mel?
Well, Westchester Disabled on the Move is governed by a board of directors, and I am president of the board. And our board is very, very unique in the sense, as is the agency in general. The board is run by 51% of the board members are people with disabilities, and so it's kind of living it, being able to understand it because you're living this situation.
Are you elected to the board? When I say you, I mean are the board members elected to serve a particular term, or is it a lifetime thing?
No, please. I don't think so. I'm in my second year. It's usually a 2-year term position. We have 15. Our bylaws generate that we could have 15 board members. We are always looking for members for our board and welcome anyone that would be interested in first having a passion for our mission of independence and providing some expertise that we need. We're particularly looking for people with expertise in fundraising, social media, human resources, financing, accounting. It's a great opportunity to learn how a non-for-profit is managed and run. You know, it's the ability, you know, for someone to be able to share some of their expertise with a community-based organization. And we would welcome anybody that would be interested in being part of the team to contact us. I think we have our contact information available on the screen, or
we'll show some of the things you're talking about in a couple of minutes. But tell me some of your grand success stories. In terms of however you view the board of directors or the organization, what do you hold most dear to your heart and proud of?
Well, the board, even though we're not involved in the day-to-day program operations, you know, we have. I take pride in the fact that, as a disabled individual myself, the principles of the organization of being able to live independently in the community and having the ability to do so, is such a monumental thing. It's a credo that I've always lived by, and that's why, as I've volunteered for the agency and been a part of this, to continue that, to support the programs that the staff runs during the daytime. I mean, we have taken people, as Mel can contest, out of nursing homes back into the mainstream, giving you support. The unique thing about Westchester Disabled on the Move is that we feel one of our strong principles is that you need to have an active part in your own goal. Okay. I mean, we will do whatever we can for you, but we won't. I mean, with you, but we won't do it for you.
Who are the people who provide this help? Are you talking about professionals? You talking about psychologists, nurses, or who are these people?
You mean the staff? You mean the staff?
Yeah, the staffing.
Okay.
Who encompasses that?
We have employee, staff members who, by the way, are disabled themselves. We have an advocate person, a person that works on housing, a person that works on benefits, We have people at the office that deal with peer counseling and general programs. So whatever, if you contact us, we try to help you. And if we cannot help you, we provide some type of referral for you. We will help you find where you need to go to get the answers for your needs.
Gotcha.
So, and we as a board we govern the whole operation.
Right.
So,
he's dying to say something.
okay, good.
Well, you know me. No, you don't. But Gail knows me quite well. Our staff, we do have that combination of professional and personal expertise. We have 3 individuals, myself included, who have masters in social work, but also we have disabilities. My program director has had cerebral palsy from birth. My benefits person has spina bifida. I have a congenital birth defect. So, you know, we try to combine our own personal experiences and the fact that we're very proud of our disability. We focus on our ability. The thing that's unique about independent living centers in our agency is that we're based, and we grew out of a civil rights movement, the civil rights for people with disabilities. And I take pride in empowering our consumers and empowering our board. When you ask Gail what she's most proud of about the board, one thing I'll say is that I've seen incredible growth in the last 2 years, especially under the watchful eye of Ms. Cardenudo Cohen over here. You know, the most important thing for a board is to have what they call fiduciary responsibility. In other words, make sure that the organization is viable, spends its money right, not overspending. And for many, many years, I've been there for, I've just been there for 13 years this month. We didn't have a board member who was really good around finances and was able to give a treasurer's report. You know, under the leadership of Gail, we've upgraded a part of our board. I think that the board understands now a lot better the the finances of an organization, and that's not. These aren't all muckety-muck, businessmen. Most of my board are people who are from the grassroots and who have disabilities, and they're learning and getting empowered. So it's unique in that the board is kind of a microcosm of the agency as people are learning and getting empowered and learning new skills. So is our board. And so I'm really proud of our board right now. And as Gail said, we're always looking for people, especially professionals with disabilities. Although we let temporarily able-bodied people in. We call them
if they can prove themselves.
I mean, part of our board is disabled and part is not.
I was going to ask you that.
Right. So it's a unique combination. It's not a qualification that you are disabled, right? But we do welcome professional people with disabilities to join the team. There's a lot of work to be done. As Mel says, we're constantly evolving and growing, learning more. Right. I come from an education background, so I'm a retired teacher. So this was kind of a unique experience for me, being part of a board and having to deal with budgets and money and outreach and development, public affairs, and things like that.
But you had the experience that they needed, with your background. You fit right in.
Well, it's a learning. It's been a learning process for me too, but it's very rewarding, and I enjoy it. And ultimately, to help our constituents is the bottom line to this whole thing. So I'm proud.
Let me ask you: do you have a central location? Do the people come to your office, to your center, and from there on you initiate what you're going to do?
We do a mix. We can do home visits. However, our main office is down in Norton Yonkers and 984 North Broadway, right across the street from St. John's Riverside Hospital. And we try to encourage people to come see us as well, because we want people to be engaged in their community and active in their community. If they need transportation, we help them apply for paratransit services. We don't want people to leave institutions and then be institutionalized in the four walls of their apartment. So we do, if I need to go out, I go out. I mean, and most of my staff will as well, because there are some limits on some of my staff because of their disabilities. A couple of them will not be able to visit somebody in a third floor walk-up. But we try to do what we can. I think one thing I wanted to really stress is, how we're unique. Clearly, we're unique, as Gail said, because we're kind of consumer-run and consumer-managed. All of our services, we don't run any residential programs. They're all community-based. And we are essentially see ourselves as an advocacy program or an advocacy agency first. That's really, as I said earlier, kind of rooted in the civil rights movement. The other thing is we try to be as full service as we can. We're not experts in everything, but if a person comes to us and says, I'm going to be losing my apartment, and I'm going to be evicted, we'll work cooperatively, let's say with legal services of the Hudson Valley, make sure they have representation, and at the same time we'll work with them to make sure the issues that caused this eviction or might contribute to the eviction get addressed as well. And last thing is that we not only advocate for individuals, but we look at the big picture and try to bring about systems change for people with disabilities. And we use whatever tools we can, including, advocacy in terms of legislation at the local, state, and federal level, and sometimes even litigation. We have a board member who is an attorney who specializes in employment law, but also has done a lot of Americans with Disability Act discrimination law work. And I can always give some examples of that, of those type of programs later.
Some of the systems changes, if you wanted to talk about for the voting and...
Right. I was going to touch on that, but I thought one thing I'd like to, before I talk about that, is just to give the basic programs that we have there. We have general information and referral about any human service issues. As I said earlier, we have housing advocacy. Megan Scheffling, who's my director of advocacy, also does our housing work. And we have a good track record, considering the lack of resources out there for people with disabilities. We have a good track record, partially because of agreements we have. Let's say what I mentioned earlier with the Yonkers Housing Authority. We're able to do it. People call us when they have somebody with a disability who needs housing. The Section 8 program here in the county, in their information packet, says if you have a disability and need assistance, contact Westchester Disabled on the Move. So we do a lot of different things. We provide service coordination for people who are trying to get out of nursing homes, and we, like I said, we do a lot of systems advocacy too.
Gail, I see that you brought a couple of pictures which might illustrate a couple of points that you want to make. We don't have too much time left, so maybe you would like to tell us what they are.
Yes. Well, the first picture is we took part in the Clearwater Festival last June, and
this was part fundraiser.
This was an outreach effort.
Outreach, okay.
An outreach effort, and those are two of our staff members. Three. I see Jerry there. Right, 3 of our staff members under a tent we had. We actually. How many signatures did you get, Mel, at
About
that day?
400. What we did, this was less of a fundraiser and more of a community awareness.
Outreach, you say.
Right.
We had petitions on that day. If you remember last year, well, similar to this year, there were all kinds of proposals at the federal level to privatize Medicare and to cut Medicaid, and the petition addressed those issues.
The second photo is a particular pleasure. You see that big check we got to it?
Right.
We have been linked with ShopRite as a partnership with ShopRite, and we did a point of sale last fall, and we were able through all the Westchester ShopRites, 9 of them.
Terrific.
And we were presented with a check for $7,000.
Very nice.
So that's a partnership we are continuing, and we're proud of that connection. And finally, this is some photos from our yearly fundraiser that we have every fall in October, which is Disability Awareness Month. Okay, and we host a it's a fundraiser, but also an educational opportunity to educate people and to recognize people that have been outstanding within the disabled community one way or another. And these are just some of the photos. And Lois Bronze is our has always been our chair, or spearheading this for so many years for us, and our spokesperson and leader of the event. Speaking, what exactly is her title for us?
I think she's the honorary chairperson.
Honorary chairperson.
This year it's going to be held October 18th. And a couple of things. If any of your viewers, want to learn more about this, they can always go to our website, which is once again www.wdom.org. And if they want to join our Friends of WDOMI mailing list, they can email their name and address and email address to Claudia S. at WDOMI, at WDOM.org. And also any general inquiries about services or how we might be able to help people can be forwarded to info at WDOM.org. We do have a web page, and we are now on Facebook, which we hope to be expanding. I want to get a column in there where people can submit questions, ask the experts about any issue. Maybe it be benefits. We help people get Medicaid. We help people go back to work and keep the services they need. There are a lot of areas that we work.
I didn't hear you mention a phone number. A phone's too old-fashioned for you?
No. We are tech savvy, but we do phones also. It's area code 9. If anyone would like to get in touch with us, it's area code 914-968-4717.
Okay, that sounds really great. We're getting close to closing, so if you want to make a closing remark, and I know you do.
Oh, you got me. You got me pinned down. The only thing I'll say is, I've said this a lot of times. We once did a video of ourselves, and that is, we are, people with disabilities, the one minority group that sometime in your life, you're going to be part of us. So when you have a problem, we'll be there for you, and we hope that you will help us along the way.
Well, thank you, Mel, and thank you, Gail, for coming along today. We're almost at the very end. If it's a quick word, go right ahead and say it.
No, I always remember that one of the things, the catch-all phrase that Mel always used to say is, being disabled is not an exclusive club. Right. Okay?
Definitely.
And so, and again, to reiterate that we're there for you, and hopefully we can help.
Thank you, Mel. Thank you, Gail, for being on the program.
Don.
Thank you, Don.
And thank you to our viewers, our visitors on the program. And just like to remind you, the Rockland Psychiatric Center is an agency in the New York State Office of Mental Health. It has community-based service locations here in Westchester. Inpatient services are located in Orangeburg and Rockland County. Good day, good health to you all. Thank you.